Hare Krishna. I welcome all of you to the beautiful pastime of Lord Sri Krishna. Yesterday we discussed how when Putana was killed, her entire body became very fragrant, and how all the gopis started praying to Vishnu for the protection of the child. Today, let's hear what happened next. The gopis assembled there spoke among themselves what sort of austerity and penances we must have undergone in our previous lives. We must have worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, offered different kinds of sacrifices, made charities, and performed many welfare activities for the public, such as growing banyan tree, excavating wells. As a result of this pious activities, we have gotten back our child. Even though he was supposed to be dead, now he has come back to enliven his relatives. After observing such wonderful happenings, Nanda Maharaj began to think the word of Vasudeva again and again. After this incident, when Yashoda once was nursing her child and patting him with a great affection, there streamed a profuse supply of milk from her breast. And when she opened the mouth of the child with her fingers, she suddenly saw the universal manifestation within his mouth. She saw within the mouth Krishna, the whole sky, including the luminaries, stars, all directions, sun, moon, fire, air, seas, islands, mountains, rivers, forests, and all the movable and immovable entities. When Mother Yashoda saw this, her heart began to thaw. She murmured within herself, "How wonderful is this?" She could not express anything but simply closed her eyes. She was absorbed in wonderful thoughts but simply closed her eyes. Krishna was showing the universal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even when lying down on the lap of his mother, he proved that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always supreme, whether he is manifested as a child in the lap of mother or as a charioteer in the battle of Kurukshetra. The concoction of impersonal is that one can become God by meditation or by some artificial matter, material activities, is declared false here. God is always God in any condition, and the living entity is always part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. They can never become equal to God. So when the Krishna was growing like this, he began to turn himself backside up. He did not merely lie down on his back, and another function was observed by Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. Krishna's first birthday, they arranged for Krishna's birthday ceremony, which is still observed by all followers of Vedic principle. Krishna's birthday is observed in India by all Hindu, irrespective of different sects, and that is celebrated as Janmashtami, which is going to come in just few days. All the cowherd men, women were invited to participate in the jubilant celebration. A nice band played and assembled people enjoyed it, and the learned Brahmanas were invited, who chanted the beautiful Vedic hymns for the best and good and the amazing fortune for the kid. During the chanting of the Vedic hymns, there was a band which was going on, and Krishna was bathed by Mother Yashoda. This bathing ceremony is technically called Abhishek, and even today this is observed in all temples in Vrindavan, where on the birthday of Krishna, Lord is given Abhishekam. On this occasion, Mother Yashoda arranged to distribute a large quantity of grain and first class cows decorated with golden ornaments were made ready to be given in charity to all the learned and respectable Brahmanas. Yashoda took her bath, dressed herself, and taking the child, duly dressed and bathed, on her lap, she sat down to hear the Vedic hymns chanted by the Brahmanas. While Mother Yashoda was listening on to the chanting of Vedic hymns, the child appeared to be falling asleep. Therefore, she very silently laid him down on the bed. Being engaged in receiving all the friends, relatives, and residents of Vrindavan on the holy occasion, she forgot to feed the child milk. And then the baby started crying, being hungry. But Mother Yashoda could not hear his cry because of the various noises. The child, however, became very angry, and because he was hungry, his mother was not paying attention to him, so he lifted the legs and began to kick the lotus feet like an ordinary child. Baby Krishna had been placed underneath a hand-driven cart, and while he was kicking his leg, he accidentally touched the wheel of chariot and it collapsed. Various kinds of utensils and dishes made of brass and other heavy metals had been piled up in the handcraft way on the chariot, and all of them fell with a great noise. The wheel of the cart separated from the axle, and the spoke of the wheel were all broken and scattered here and there. Mother Yashoda and all the gopis, as well as Maharaj Nanda and the cowherd men, were astonished that how the cart could have collapsed by itself. All the men and women who were assembled for the holy function crowded around and began to suggest how the cart might have collapsed. No one could ascertain the cause. But some small children who were interested to play with the baby Krishna informed the crowd that it was due to Krishna striking his foot against the wheel. They assured the crowd that they had seen how it happened with their own eyes, and they strongly asserted this point. Some were listening to this statement of the small children, but others said, "How can you believe this statement of the small children?" The cowherd women could not understand that all power of powerful Lord was lying there as a baby, and he could do anything. So for him nothing is impossible. While the discussion was going on, baby Krishna cried. Without any stoppage, Mother Yashoda picked up the child on her lap and called the learned Brahmanas to chant holy Vedic hymns to counteract the evil spirits. At the same time, she allowed the baby to suck her breast. If a child sucks the mother's breast nicely, it is to be understood that he is out of all danger. After this, all the stronger cowherd men put the broken cart in order, and all scattered things were put up nicely as before. The Brahmanas thereafter began to offer oblations in the sacrificial fire with yogurt, butter, kushagrass, and water. They worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the good fortune of the child. The Brahmanas who were present at that time were all qualified because they were not envious. They never indulged in untruthfulness. They never had a proud, and neither they were non-violent. They never claimed any false prestige. They were all bona fide Brahmanas, and there was no reason to think that their blessings would be useless. With firm faith in qualified Brahmanas, Nanda Maharaj took his child on his lap, bathed him, and with water mixed with various herbs, while the Brahmanas chanted the hymns from Rig, Yajur, Syam Veds. It is said that without being qualified Brahmana, one should not read mantras of Vedas. Here is the proof that Brahmanas were qualified with all the Brahminical symptoms. Maharaj Nanda also had a full faith in them. Therefore, they were all allowed to perform the ritualistic ceremonies. There were many different varieties of sacrifices recommended for different purposes, but the mantras are all to be chanted by the qualified Brahmanas only. And because in this present age, Kali Yuga, Such qualified Brahmanas are not available. All the Vedic rituals, sacrifice are forbidden. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore said that in this age, the only sacrifice which can be done is Sankirtan Yagna. That means chanting of Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. As the Brahmanas chanted the Vedic hymns and performed the ritualistic ceremonies for the second time, Nanda Maharaj again gave them huge quantities of grain, many cows, and all the cows were given in charity were covered with nice gold embroidered garments, and their horns were bedecked with the golden rings. Their hoofs were covered with silver plates, and they wore garland of flowers. He gave so many cows just for welfare of his wonderful child, and the Brahmanas in return bestowed their heartful blessings. And the blessings offered by the able Brahmanas were never baffled. One day, shortly after the ceremony, when Mother Yashoda was patting her baby on the lap, the baby felt too heavy, and being unable to carry him, she unwillingly placed him on the ground. After a while, she became engaged in household affairs. At that time, a servant of Kamsa known as Trinavarta, as instructed by Kamsa, appeared, and therein, in the shape of a whirlwind, he picked the child up in his shoulders, and raised a great dust storm all over the Vrindavan, covering everyone's eyes. Within few moments, the whole area of Vrindavan became so densely dark that no one can see himself or anyone else. During this great problem, Mother Yashoda could not see her baby, who had been taken away by the whirlwind, and she began to cry. She fell down on the ground exactly like a cow who has just lost her calf. When Mother Yashoda was so crying piteously, all the cowherd women immediately came and began to look for the baby, but they were disappointed and could not find him. The Trinavarta demon went high into the sky with the baby Krishna on his shoulder, but as the baby assumed much weight, that suddenly he could not go any further, and he had to stop the whirlwind. Baby Krishna made himself heavy and began to weigh down the demon, catching hold his neck. Trinavarta felt the baby to be heavy as a big mountain. He tried to get out of his clutches, but he was unable to do so, and his eyes popped out from his socket. Crying very fiercely, he fell down on the ground on the Vrindavan, and he died. The demon fell exactly like Tripurasura, who was pierced by the arrow of Shiva. Trinavarta had hit a stone slab with his limbs, and everything was smashed. His body was visible to all inhabitants in Vrindavan. When the gopis saw the demon was killed by the baby, they were all happy, and the cowherd men and women became so happy to get back the baby Krishna that at that time they began to talk among themselves that how wonderful it is that the demon had taken away the child to devour him, but could not do so. Instead, he fell down and he died. Some of them supported the situation that this is proper because those who are too sinful should die, and their sinful reaction, and Krishna is so pious that he is saving all of us from all the situations. And we too must have performed great sacrifices in our previous life, worshipping the Supreme Lord, giving charity. That's why we have this baby with us always. So with this, we'll stop here. I thank all of you for joining. If you have any question and doubt, send it to me through WhatsApp. We'll hear tomorrow another pastime. Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.